All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball. Today we get into our second of our 8 divisional previews, and obviously in one of the toughest divisions of football in the AFC North. Just like last video, we'll go off last season's records. And so off the top, we'll start with the Ravens, who obviously with an MVP front runner, last year's MVP on their hands. Christian, what you got for the Ravens this year?
Yeah, so obviously Lamar Jackson got his second MVP. Now he's coming in with kind of a lot more, I guess I'll say a lot more on his back now. Two MVPs under your belt, but specifically looking at Lamar Jackson, hasn't really looked into the playoffs and hasn't really played that he's supposed to. I mean, he got carried by his defense in the first couple games last season. Come playoff time, in that game against the Chiefs, it kind of started showing more Lamar Jackson what he wasn't
Well,
really
I think
able.
we can't really say that after that Houston game. I mean, let's be honest. He put the team on his back against Houston.
Without a doubt, Houston on that yes, but the game against the Chiefs kind of started to show out more. The defense was bailing him out so many different times, especially that secondary. You know, the Ravens secondary is kind of the big moments for that team. And he had that one big play to Zay Flowers, and obviously the fumble and everything that led after that kind of huge detriment in the playoffs. But coming into this season, looking at this Ravens team, it's pretty much the same team from last season, Lamar Jackson, and then looking at the receivers as well. That's kind of like one thing here about Lamar Jackson is his weapons. He had Zay Flowers as his one receiver, then you have Rashad Bateman and Nelson Aguilar. So looking at this receiving core, it's kind of iffy here, and then Mark Andrews is probably going to be his main guy once again. Mark Andrews, I guess, his security blanket, you could say here. That would probably be my only concern with that Ravens offense is just looking at this receivers. But I am really high on Zay Flowers, especially in last season. He was one of the receivers last year I was really high on. But this Ravens team, it's got a lot to handle here, especially like you said in this very competitive AFC North division.
Yeah, and I think you're forgetting the biggest piece. Obviously, their big offseason acquisition, Derrick Henry. I mean, they lost their top two running backs in J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. But I mean, this is definitely the guy you want to replace them. I mean, arguably the best running back in the past couple of years. You can make arguments for a couple other guys, but I think the only thing that I love them picking up Derrick Henry. I know you had your own thing. You would have loved him on the Cowboys, but I think one big thing that we do have to look at here is the Ravens did lose a lot of pieces on O-line. I don't got the names off the top of my head right now, but that O-line did lose some pieces. Ronnie Stanley is there, is still there. So I mean, probably one of the biggest anchors on that O-line is still able to hold it down. But let's see. They bring in new faces. See how much that's gonna, how much continuity we're gonna see. And one last thing. I mean, one of the best defensive coordinators last season, Mike McDonald, is gone now. So, and not only that, Patrick Queen off to a division rival, and that we'll get into that in just a little bit. So that defense definitely took a hit this offseason, and we're gonna have to see how the Ravens can bounce back, at least defensively, because honestly I see no drop off from Lamar Jackson. But moving into last year's second place team, the Browns, who obviously surprised a lot of us pulling it out, obviously with Joe Flacco, who is gone. He's off in Indy now, and I think that is honestly going to be a pretty big loss. Not too bad seeing that they picked up Jamo. I'm very excited to see Jameson Winston, which, let's be honest, there is a very high chance that he gets the season playing time with Deshaun Watson's injury history. And that's going to be the biggest thing. Deshaun Watson, is he going to live up to this contract? And going into, I believe it's his third year, if I'm not mistaken.
So.
Yeah,
It's a couple
so
years already he's been with the Browns.
third year into this contract, and I mean, obviously we haven't seen anything out of him. You can argue, Jacoby Brissett and Joe Flacco outplayed him in the first couple years. Are we going to see Jameis Winston do the same thing here? And I guess probably apart from Deshaun, one of the biggest storylines going into this is, how's Nick Chubb going to recover from yet another horrific knee injury? And I know they picked up Nyheim Hines and Dante Foreman. Not the kind of names you really want to see at the top of your running back depth chart, but it's just to see. I know he's on the PUP list, so he won't be coming back until week 5. But it's hoping all the best for Chubb, but it's going to be tough coming back from those types of injuries.
Yeah, so this Browns team, like how you mentioned, Deshaun Watson, not really anything to that. I'm still not high on Deshaun Watson at all. Still, After that injury, once again, it's going to take another toll coming into the season, and you're not going to have Nick Chubb till week 4. Jerome Ford is going to get the start, which, I'm not really looking down at Jerome Ford. He's going to kind of pick up the load at the running back, so that is a pretty good running back there. And then, your receiving core, the O-line, I would kind of have, some concerns there, but the defense, you still have your big guys, Myles Garrett, did his accusations like, Juan Horto's finally there, Grandel Pitt, and then, he's one of the most underrated guys there, Denzel Ward. But he is questionable coming in here. So this defense, looking into this defense, another top defense, but playoffs kind of sound a little steep there. But this Browns team, I would expect Deshaun Watson. As much as I want to root for him, I still don't see anything coming from Deshaun Watson.
It's hard. It's a hard guy to root for being honest.
Yeah, exactly. Looking at that way, football wise, the energy is gonna really take a toll on him. Now moving on to the third place spot, this Pittsburgh Steelers team. Sure, they've been above 500 with Mike Tomlin all these past years, but a bunch of mediocrity, especially looking at the quarterback position. Coming into the season, Russell Wilson, he will be getting the start here. A lot of people, I know you probably think Justin Fields is going to probably take a spot later in the season, which could be the case here. But it's pretty much just a whole lot of mid with this Steelers team, and as much as I really want to hope for is George Pickens. Sure, I had my little thing, fantasy wise, but I want to see George Pickens finally show his true potential with finally an actual quarterback now at Russell Wilson. If he can finally get over that slump he's had for the past 2 years with the Broncos. So that's one thing I'm really, really hoping for. And, this defense of the Steelers, when we're looking at guys like Joey Porter, Mika Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, who was arguably
Patrick Queen, as I just mentioned a little earlier. The accusation
of Patrick Queen that you did mention, and Alex Highsmith there. This defense, it's looking very scary for the Steelers.
They have, they have a scary defense.
They have a very stacked defense.
You got to iron some kinks out.
Yeah, especially these linebackers, they did draft Peyton Wilson in the draft, which is another guy that I was really high on, but the only thing about him, he's injury prone. He's had some passing with some injuries there, but I would hope to hopefully see him get a couple reps in from there. But this offense is really it's really going to come down to, and it's really going to come down to the quarterbacks, whether it's going to be Russell Wilson right now, he's going to get over the slump and finally beat Russ that he's been playing for the first couple years in the NFL, or is Justin Fields, if he's going to be the man to step up and take his spot and hopefully have a really huge improvement.
Yeah, and obviously you brought out my take for me. I really would expect Justin Fields to come on and probably show that, throw his hat in the ring to see if he can be the future quarterback of the Steelers moving forward after this year. But I think, the one thing for us is can he prove the doubters wrong? It's been year after year that, he can't beat the washed allegations. And I know last year, he had that little burst. He did kind of look kind of nice. And then the Broncos hold him out of that. But I just don't expect him to carry any of that over going into this year. And look, I know we're saying, their defense is like you said, that's probably gonna be, their main piece. A lot of these teams we've been talking about, they have pretty solid defense, but offensively that's the issue. The one saving grace on offense, I think, is going to be the run game. We see, Najee Harris, we'll see how he fares this season. Jalen Warren is someone I'm very high on. And off the O-line, they picked up, was it Troy Fontenot, if I'm not mistaken, out of Washington. He's someone that I was very high on in the draft process, and I think he does have a really big, he can have a really big impact going into Pittsburgh's run game. And going into last place, a surprise last place team in this division that shows how strong this division is, with the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe, were they above 500, 9-8, 8-9, somewhere in between, but that was without Joe Burrow for a good almost half of the season going into it. This year I see a huge resurgence in Cincy. I think the big thing that we can talk about, Joe Burrow's fully healthy going into the regular season. We usually see him, might be some minor stuff, but he usually doesn't really have the opportunity to get into the preseason. He's not 100% in the preseason, and we've all this season. They're known for their slow starts, and I think that's going to be a key thing. Can they avoid that slow start? Because in a division like this, it's very hard to come back from it. We saw last year. You can blame it on the injury, but the slow start was a pretty bad factor. And you also see, some of the core from that Super Bowl team, and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon out the door now. Let's see, ushering in a new regime with was it Zach Moss, and obviously I have all my takes for Chase Brown.
Brown.
Can definitely see that run game to be something to look out for. And I know they lost one of their big O-line pieces, but I'm definitely pretty high on Cincy right now.
Yeah, you're gonna have a fully healthy Joe Burrow, but obviously that's gonna have to heavily rely on this offensive line. Obviously, the Bengals have had problems with this offensive line. That's kind of one of the reasons why Joe Burrow has been frequently injured here. Now, I know I've mentioned those 2 season-ending injuries. It's probably I'm gonna hope God, it's not gonna take a toll on him this early, but without a doubt, those injuries, it's gonna start to show, later in the season here. But if they manage to get 9-8 with Burrow gone for most of the season after midseason, you have a pretty decent run game now with Zach Moss, and hopefully, give your high hopes with Chase Brown and Jamar Chase, excluding the contract issues. He still ends up being the high caliber receiver that he is. Hopefully, T. Higgins still, has a little leverage and actually helps out the team. There's a lot of things going well for the Cincy team, but it just all depends if Joe Burrow can stay healthy.
Yeah, and I think something I didn't mention, especially what you mentioned right there. How will the T. Higgins drama affect this team? And I think that could be maybe a little factor that could slow him down. I don't know, but hey, what if T. Higgins can actually set that aside and actually play for his contract? I think that could be a very dangerous dangerous core for the Bengals going into this year. And well, we'll move it into our record predictions. And Christian, you got the last one. I think I'll let myself go into this one. I've been pretty. I think I made it pretty clear who I'm very high on this season. I'm gonna go with the Bengals to win the division at 11-6. It's pretty low, but we see the parity in this division. I see a lot of these games being split between the divisional rivals, and I think 11-6 is a good spot. I'm expecting Joe Burrow to be really strong. MVP candidate. I'm not gonna go with him again. We'll see. You guys will wait for that for our awards prediction video. But I'm expecting a great year for Joe Burrow. I'm going into second place at 10-7. I'm gonna go with Baltimore, and it does seem a little low, but I think the O-line issues are gonna show a little wear and tear on Derrick Henry. I think still a couple wide receiver issues that we can be honest about, that they're gonna hurt Lamar's opportunity to really spread out the field. And I'm not as high as a lot are on the Ravens. Third place, I'm gonna go Cleveland. I think it's gonna be really, really tough for them to really make it out of here, especially with a huge season that I'm expecting out of Joe Burrow. I'm not really expecting too much out of Deshaun, unfortunately. I think 8-9 is what I'm gonna go with Cleveland. I guess in a way, situation possible with the type of season that Cincy had last year, but definitely not going to be enough for me. And with Pittsburgh, 7-10, I finally think that Mike Tomlin will go up sub 500. This might be enough to get him out of this job, but I just think that the turmoil with having Russ at quarterback, I just don't think he's gonna pan out, and I think it's gonna be another one and done for Russ.
We have some pretty similar ones here. I'm actually gonna have the Ravens take this division here, but same record. I'm gonna have them go at 11-6. So I'm gonna have them have a little decline, specifically looking at the issues they have around the team, like they mentioned the O-line, and then how that defense is gonna really pan out there. So I'm gonna have the Ravens still win this division at 11-6 there. Then I will go with the Bengals at 10-7. I'll save it for the playoffs, but I do have the Bengals still sneaking their way in there to playoffs right then and there. Still having a high hopes for Burrow, but the past complications that they have, the O-line, I still think that's going to be a slight issue for Burrow, so that's kind of why I have them there. And then I'm gonna have the Browns up. I'm gonna have them at 9-8. I'm gonna have him once again. I still don't think Deshaun Watson. I still don't think he's gonna be the quarterback to get it done for this team. Like I said, the injuries is gonna catch up to him, and then just in general, Deshaun Watson, really gonna see how he's gonna pan out with this team. But I still don't think it's gonna get anything close up with this Browns team. And then the Steelers, bottom of the barrel. I'm gonna have the Steelers that go at 9-8, so just above 500 once again to kind of keep Mike Tomlin's consecutive streak going. It's just gonna be another mid. It's gonna be another mid-season for the Steelers team. I'm really not gonna see anything more. Sure, the defense is probably what's gonna keep them really in the game, just like how the Jets last season. But the offense, specifically the quarterback situation and Russell Fields, I know there's gonna be some turmoil coming into the season with this team.
Yeah, so like you said, pretty similar with our picks. You got them all going over 500. That's a little unheard of. I mean, hey, in this division, you know,
hey, that's why in this
not,
North, yeah.
I can definitely see it happening.
Yeah.
Personally, not, but I mean, yeah, this is if it's gonna happen, this might be the division for it to happen, and yeah, you know, well, going into this, you know, tomorrow we'll get the AFC South, another division that, you know, went from very much of a sleeper last season to out of nowhere just to shoot out into obviously, you know, one of the top divisions in football. So can't wait to see who you got going there, and I can't wait to see, you know, where we got these playoffs lining up little by little. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you like and subscribe. We'll see if there's some more news. We've been hearing some rumblings that there might be some more Cowboys news coming, so we'll see if anything comes up before our Tuesday morning video for this. If not, we will see you guys for the AFC South video. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys back.